Hi YouTube, Coinpicker here. Now today's video, I just wanted to share with you guys all the things that I've seen in the thrift store that for some reason or the other I decided not to buy, or they were auction items that I wasn't able to win. Well, anyways, these pictures span probably the last year, so I hope you guys enjoy it. Though first of all, there's these auction items that come on, and this is one of the best ones. It was an antique ivory or elephant ivory Chinese lid from a box, some fancy box, and it was intricately carved. And if you can notice, like there's all these like tiny little people, very detailed. And I think they started the price at like $12.99, and it went up to $300. And the person buying it was like, I heard, super thrilled. So something like that on eBay, well, I guess you can't really sell that stuff on eBay anymore because of the ivory. But if it was allowed, it'd probably been like, in the thousands maybe. Anyways, I wish I got it, but I didn't. Second of all, there is another auction item I've seen, this huge crystal. I forgot what type of crystal. Might have been quartz, but if it was like at least 50 pounds. If you see it's in that picture, that it's in the case, it's right on the floor of the case. And to compare it, there's like those Mad magazines right next to it. That big stack of them, anyways. So I forgot what that went for, but it was for a pretty penny. Now that we're mentioning pennies, this was on the shelf a while back. Decided not to pick it up. Ashtray smoking collectibles aren't that popular these days. But I did take notice that it was an ashtray made up of these Mexican brass, I guess it's brass or copper coins. But yeah, I thought it was cool. I think it was a couple bucks. Left it on the shelf for someone else. This was cool. It was a whole set of I believe it's ironstone plates from England. Like three, I think there was like some bowls and small plates and large plates, and they're from like the 1820s, give or take. They were pretty cheap, like $3.99 a piece. I think the smaller ones were $2.99, and when I went back the next day, they were all gone. So obviously, someone Googled what they were, but that was pretty cool. Just that I didn't want to play with these things. I mean, I heard I did some searching and it's worth like maybe $20 a piece. This is cool. This is a antique pharmacy. What's that? Not pharmacy. Sort of like a pharmacy container, more like in the display. It was missing its lid, and I think it was like $8.99 or $7.99, probably close to 100 years old. But because it was incomplete and it wasn't like super cheap, I decided against it. So I didn't buy it, left it there. This was an interesting plate. I believe it is Nippon, like pre-World War II Japanese. $3.99. It's hand painted, as you can see on the bottom. I think it was is it Noritake, or I forgot, but I don't know. Decided against it. This is interesting. This is for $2.99. This is a I believe it's celluloid or pressed wood flashlight. I think from the 30s or 40s. Don't quote me on it. I might be off a bit. But the only reason I didn't buy it, it was cracked at the bottom. Yeah, I mean, if it was in perfect condition, I would have picked it up. But very interesting. This is cool. These huge brass, and I think they're antelope or gazelle at 349 a piece. Too rich for my blood. I mean, the most I pay is scrap. Then I know for sure I made a profit. They're pretty heavy, but little too pricey for my blood. And the missus probably would not have liked it. I mean, I don't know. Do you think it would go into like my living room? I don't know. I doubt it. Um, Saw this at another thrift store. It's some sort of timer, coin operated timer. So maybe it's one of those massaging hotel beds. I don't know. Or for a TV. But I don't know. Left it there. This is cool. This is behind the glass in the display. And it's a huge, well, not huge. It was pretty hefty jade carving, that fit in the palm of your hand. Like, yeah, it was pretty cool. But $2.99, like, we're not talking about pennies. We're talking about dollars. I thought, not worth the risk, because with jade these days, there's a lot of fake jade or, I guess, treated jade that brings down the value. So I wasn't sure if it was even worth the 300. But if it was like, I don't know, $24.99, even $50, I would have popped on it. So here's a view from the top. And here's something in the auction display. A huge stack of comic books, probably from, I don't know, the 60s. Well, the only thing you could see was the first issue on the top, Wonder Woman. I don't know if they were all the same vintage or title, but 12-cent comic book, so quite collectible. Condition was fair. I didn't have a chance to look at what was underneath, because you can only see the other ones in the display, like at, I think, the last day of the auction. This is an antique hair curler. It was right on the shelf. I thought it was cool, but I don't collect those kind of things. They used to put it in the fire or in the oven and then use it. This is some Balik porcelain, and I believe it is an open salt cellar, I believe. So, you just take a pinch of salt, put it over your dinner. Balik porcelain is quite collectible. You could tell the age by the color of the mark and the style of the mark on the bottom. Here's the mark, $1.99. I thought it was okay, but I thought I'd just leave it for the next person who's more interested in it. Here's some antique glass. I thought was cool. Pressed glass, at least 100 years old. I think it was like 120 years old. And it was commemorating some sort of visit from some Spanish royalty to Halifax. I believe it was Halifax, Canada. Well, and it had all this writing on it, pressed in. And then here's the backside. But I thought against it. I mean, I liked it sort of, but it wasn't very expensive, or I mean, rare. Here's an interesting lithograph. It showed all these politicians as children, behaving poorly from different countries. I think during World War I or something, or prior. But there was some water damage, so I didn't buy it. Thought this was cool. The set of stemware and decanter. If you notice in the handles and in the stem, there's like a whole bunch of little crystals jam-packed. They're trying to copy Swarovski brand, glassware or crystal, but it was a knockoff. No name on it. Didn't buy it. And this is a glass flower frog. Pretty cool. Female figure but not very valuable on eBay. If it was, I think it was like a remake, a repop or something. This is a cream container. I only took a picture of it because I thought it was cool that it had the original lid. So this is probably from the, I think the 50s maybe? 50s or 60s. But yeah, it had the original lid still intact. Pretty cool. This is an antique brass apothecary, what do you call it? Mortar? I think mortar is the container, and then the pestle is the thing that grinds it, I think. But it's about 100 years old or so. Didn't want to get into collecting that stuff or start into it. This is a little figurine, and I think it's, what's it say, like $4.99. I think there was some damage to it, so I decided against it. Probably a little chipping on the top of its hat, but I thought it was cool for the age. Someone else probably bought it right away and enjoyed it. Thought this was cool. Grew up drinking Ovaltine. The kids drink it once in a while. Sort of like malted milk sort of thing. Mix hot water with it. This was a promo item back, I think, from the 30s or 20s. Saw this creamer, looked at the markings underneath, and knew that was some sort of art pottery, I believe, or at least high quality pottery. And didn't buy it, but I looked it up on my smartphone. Got the maker's name and everything, but yeah, decided against it. Oh, and here is some cool furniture. Sometimes these thrift stores have very nice furniture. But, I wasn't in the market for furniture, but this is Chinese rosewood furniture. Not super old, but it was expensive when it was brand new. And yeah, the wifey would kill me if I brought it home. And there was one other smaller piece on the left side. The very next day, they were all gone. And they weren't cheap. They were like $199 a piece or 100 something each. So thought this was cool. Sir Winston Churchill, I guess, or a commemorative little dish. I don't know if you'd use that as an ashtray, but I don't know. This little cigarette holder by Rosenthal. Only reason I didn't buy it, it was cracked. It is porcelain, which I thought was pretty cool. And it was like narrow. It'd probably hold like maybe 4 cigarettes. And again, if it's not silver or something, like, I was sort of iffy on these smoking collectibles. But if it wasn't damaged and it was, that cheap, I would have bought it. Just didn't like that hairline crack. And last but not least, I just saw this the other day. It is a local item because I live in Vancouver. It's a tin, I think it's from the 50s or 40s or something. Held syrup, and it was okay condition. There was no price on it. It was just like on the shelf. Brought it to the back, and I thought, okay, if they charged me like $1 or $2, I'd buy it. And yeah, they wrote a price for me, $2.99. And I thought, it's only worth like $15, so I left it. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like this kind of video, please make a comment, let me know, and I'll save more of these little clips and put them all together and post it again. Anyways, please like, comment, and subscribe. Coinpicker out.